Hey there. Before we jump into today's episode, we want to thank you for tuning into Unapologetically First Gen. This is the podcast where two sisters share what it's like to grow up as first-generation immigrants, everything from the hilarious moments to the heartfelt ones. Each week, we'll bring you personal stories, honest conversations, and amazing guest interviews that celebrate the first-gen experience. So if you love laughing, learning, and feeling connected, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your friends. It really helps us grow. If you want to contribute to episode topics and get exclusive content, join our Patreon linked in the show notes.
Hello, I'm Stacy, the younger sister. I'm a former teacher turned copywriter, cat mom, and slightly obsessed with romantasy books.
And I'm Lesley, the older one, operations expert, home baker, mom to 2 kids, and a bunny. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically First Gen. We are going to talk about getting married and being married. We've mentioned in previous episodes that we are both married to Americans. So what the heck happened there? Why aren't we married to Portuguese men? Let's talk about it. So first, this is my opportunity to tell a story that I think a lot of people who are new in my life just don't know.
It's funny because I actually forget that this happened in your life unless we're actually talking about it, because it just feels like such a minuscule, unimportant part at this point. It's almost like it never happened, even though it did happen and it was a big part of your life, you know, in your early formative years. I forget, and for the people who are new, I think they're always so surprised.
Agreed. Also, I'm pretty sure that this is how my mother-in-law is about to find out. She listens to this podcast, so it will be funny if, she didn't know. This is how she's going to find out. So when I was 18, it was the summer I was 18 turning 19, I got married to a nice Portuguese boy. And this is a cautionary tale about why you should not get married before your brain is fully formed. It's not a good idea. You don't know who you are, and thus should not be able to make life-changing decisions like getting married at a young age.
It's so funny that you're saying this. Sorry, I'll let you get to your story. But it's so funny that you're saying this because Tom and I got together when we were 21, so a little bit older than your 18-year-old marriage, but we talk about this all the time. We've now been together for a whole decade, and we were completely different people when we were 21 than now when we're, moving into our mid-30s. And so it's just this idea of your brain not being fully functioning. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25. A lot of people get married before that.
I know. And that's the thing is, you guys started dating at 21, but you had time to evolve as individuals and as a couple. You didn't start living, you did start living together at 21, but that was different.
No, we were a little older than that. We were it was probably 23, 24, maybe.
Okay. But not as a couple.
Yeah, as a couple. Okay, why don't you tell your story? Because I don't want to steamroll into my story.
We'll tell all stories. Heartbreak and love stories in today's episode of Unapologetically First Gen. Okay, so I got married super young. I think there was a lot of pressure to do something. At that point, and I will say, I just want to put a really big asterisk on this and say it's not like this now in our family, but there was a lot of pressure to kind of leave the nest and I wasn't allowed to live by myself. I wasn't allowed to live with roommates. I certainly wasn't allowed to live with my boyfriend. Premarital sex was a big no-no at the time. So it was just a really different environment to be in. So I was 18 and he was, I think he was 23, but I can't quite remember, but something like that. So he's a little older, still didn't have a fully developed brain. Spoiler alert, it didn't work out. I think by 20, we were already separated. We basically made it like a year and change. And then we were separated, and we didn't officially get divorced for a couple of years after that. By the time the divorce was finalized, I think both of us had already moved on. Because again, early 20s. And I mean, I'm not saying that to say like, oh, we just moved on. It was hard. It was a really difficult time. It really messed with sense of being. Am I lovable? I'm never getting married again. I think I basically said I'm never getting married again until like right before Mark and I started dating. And then it was very different. Then second date, I was like, if you do not want to get serious, we should not date. No pressure for him, but he and I are a very different story. But yeah, and I think that with the marriage, kind of what happened was that I went to college. I started changing, and I had less time. I was like working and going to college. I was focusing that way, and I think that it was a combination of I wasn't the same person. Very quickly, I changed, and I didn't have time for the relationship in a way that he expected me to have time for the relationship. He had a little bit of a wandering eye.
I feel like you were not fulfilling your duties as a Portuguese wife.
I think that's what it is. And I don't think he would necessarily see it that way, but I do think that's what it is. Like, I had gone from taking care of the household to suddenly I am in school and I'm working and I can't just do these things that I was doing. And I think that was problematic.
Well, it's interesting because it's like really the first time that you got to like make decisions for you.
Yeah.
And it was getting in the way.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I could spend hours talking about where things went wrong or my feelings and all that stuff. I'm 40 now. If we fast forward 2 decades, and it's very different. Like, his family is wonderful. I still adore his family. I still keep in touch with his family. I see him every once in a while, and most recently I saw him at his grandfather's funeral. He was there with his new wife. We chatted a little bit. I gave him my condolences. I hugged his wife. I hugged him. It was fine. We're friendly. I have a great relationship with some of his family members. If we're in common spaces, we'll say hi to each other. We've moved past it, but it's also like 2 decades ago. So you kind of get to a point where you have to move on.
It's interesting because as you get older, your perception of like time and everything changes. So it's like something that felt like so huge when you're 19 and 20. Now you're looking back and it's like this little blip on the like map of your life.
It is. And it was such a huge issue for a long time in my life. And then you're right. I look back on it and I'm like, oh yeah, there are people who don't even know that I was married and that I'm divorced. I will say for anyone who's getting divorced, I highly recommend this. When the divorce was finalized, I threw myself a divorce party and I invited basically everybody I know. And I was like, I'm going to be celebrating me. And I'm going to be celebrating my divorce. I'm going to be celebrating myself. I'm going to be, celebrating this new stage of my life come through. And I just spent that entire night just dancing the night away with all of these people who were friends, family members there, and strangers were like, are you the person who's getting divorced? I was like, yeah, I'm the one who's getting divorced. Like, and it was just like cool and such a fun vibe. Highly recommend celebrating. You're not necessarily celebrating that you got divorced, although there is something to be said about celebrating that the process has been finalized, because it's not easy to get a divorce in a lot of states. It just takes a long time. But really celebrating yourself and celebrating you as a person who's independent from this other person. So highly recommend that.
I always knew, and I don't know if this is related to your first marriage experience or not, but I always knew I was not going to marry a Portuguese guy. I think it's because the traditional Portuguese marriage is, it's very much like the traditional marriage where men are very much taken care of. They are an additional child that the wife takes care of. And so, growing up, that was kind of what we saw. Like the woman is doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the mental load, all of the childcare and kid-related things. And, you have the husband doing typical man things like grilling, construction projects. And for me, like, I always knew that I wanted something more equal than that. I did not want to be in charge of all of the things. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was taking care of somebody all the time. I wanted to take care of somebody, but also have them take care of me. I never even dated Portuguese guys.
No, you didn't. But the thing is, for me, I don't think I knew that I was deserving of a different life. I was always in the caretaker role. So it kind of was like, this is what I know and this is what makes sense for me. Looking back, I'm like, obviously not. But I don't think I knew that there was another option for me.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, looking at my marriage now, my husband does a lot of the cooking. We split the chores. He goes to the grocery store. I haven't been to the grocery store in years. I hate the grocery store. No, that's not true. I've gone in for like, we're missing something, I'll go in and grab it. But like in terms of going into Market Basket to like, get all of our things, that causes me so much stress and anxiety. So I'm very thankful that he is able and willing to do that for the household, even with marrying somebody where that wasn't the cultural expectation. There's still a lot of challenges with somebody who does want an equitable marriage, with somebody who wants to keep things equal. It's still hard. Like, I still carry a lot of the mental load, and it's something that I feel like we're still going to be working through for a really long time.
Yeah, you and I talk about this a lot, about that mental load to be carried. My husband is absolutely a feminist. He's very supportive of equal work. I never cook, ever. In traditional culture, there's a lot of very toxic masculinity. It felt like at that time, all of the Portuguese guys that I knew were leaning into that.
The men raised in Portuguese families are babied. They're babied by their moms forever, even after they leave the nest. And so there's this expectation of my wife is going to take over what my mom was doing for me.
Yeah, and not to say that there aren't Portuguese guys around who don't want that or who have a different relationship with that type of thing. Like, I'm not going to raise my son that way.
Right.
But it is the culture that we know. We watch the Portuguese kids and they have these caricatures of Portuguese men that are very much like, I'm sitting on the couch, my wife is cleaning because it's Saturday, or our son is allowed to go out with his friends. Our daughter has to be home. I need to know who she's with. No, she can't go out with boys. Those comedic skits, those tropes sound very familiar.
Oh, yeah. And of course, it's not everybody, but I just didn't meet very many Portuguese men in that time.
You also went away for college, and I think that opened up your prospects more. I didn't go away. And this was literally like we were dating in high school and the expectation. Actually, now that I say that, I'm just realizing I dated another Portuguese guy before that, and I was a freshman and he was a senior, which not okay now looking back. As an adult, I'm like, who allowed that? I was like 14 and he was 18. Like, who allowed that? But it was okay because he was this like nice Portuguese guy from a nice Portuguese family. And no one thought anything of it because it was like not that big of an age difference culturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the family was so upset when he and I broke up because they really thought we were going to get married. And I was like, I'm like 15.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And then it's like the next guy I bring home is this other Portuguese guy. And then that feels like it's the guy that I have to marry.
Yeah.
The guy I can't really break up with because that expectation had already been laid down for me.
We're being raised by this generation who they did get married at 17 because they had to. They had no other options. They needed to get out of their parents' house and start a life because there wasn't enough resources. Our mom got married at 17. Our dad was 20 or 21, but that was normal. Our mom had her first kid at 24, and that was late.
It was really late because they had been married for so long. So it's like, how have we waited this long?
But like, how great was that? What a brave, like, way to resist the path that was chosen for her of being like, you know what? We're moving to a new country. I'm going to take English classes. I'm going to do this thing.
I do think the moving here was more inspired by Dad, probably just because it was his family that they moved close to. She really embraced the changes really well. She took the English classes. They held off on having a family. It was very different. Not something that would have been afforded had they stayed back. But
right.
Again,
You still see that even in our generation. Our cousins who live on the island, they all had kids young.
And that's also true of some of the cousins here had kids really young. They're like my age and they have adult children.
It's wild.
I know. I'm like, look at you all done raising kids. I'm over here in the trenches.
Now you get to be teenagers. Welcome.
Oops, jealous. Right. I'm like, oh, those are the people we should tell about, like, the dance parties that I'm too tired to go to.
Yes, we just heard of an event nearby that was a dance party for people who don't like staying out late, and it started at 6 and it was over by 10. And I was like, this is my type of bar.
I want to go to that next time. We
I
missed
know.
it this time. We had a different event to go to, but that is where we'll be at next time. Your story, your evolution from dating to getting married with Tom specifically is very different.
Yeah,
We ended up married to two Americans in very different ways.
It's funny because in talking to one of our cousins, she's like, you guys both married nerds. And I'm like, we really did. We both married nerds.
I was going to say who said that, but I already know. Never mind.
The story behind us is that Tom and I were roommates. What had happened was me and a bunch of friends were going to rent a house together for junior year of college, and two of those friends were couple friends, and they broke up literally weeks before the lease was going to start, and we basically need to find somebody like pretty quick to fill that spot so we didn't have to pay all this extra rent. And that's where Tom came into the picture. So he moved in. We did not start dating for 2 years. Our relationship actually got to a really rocky start with, the quality of a male college roommate at 18 years old. I won't get too deep into it, but we'll just leave it at that.
How about we leave it at, I heard about Tom when he was roommate Tom.
Yeah, so by the end, as we were moving out, that is kind of when we started dating, and then we started building the relationship from there. He ended up staying at school for another year, so we did the long distance thing for a little bit, and then he moved back home, so that was like another year, and then finally I was like, all right, let's move in together. And we ended up living together for a few years, so we lived together for like 5-6 years before we got married, which was really, honestly, like really great because we got to develop our brains fully. We got to figure out like who we are as individuals and how do we work together in a couple. And it's cool to like evolve with somebody and see them grow and then also grow together. I feel like we've done a lot of growing together. We are completely different people now than when we first started dating.
And I have to say, I really adore him. Obviously, I think he's a good partner to you, but just he fits really well in with our family. He's I almost feel like I shouldn't be recording this because I give him shit all the time, but he and I have a really good sibling type relationship where we like make fun of each other a little bit, defend each other a lot, and I think that's really great. But he is really funny and he is dorky and in a really nice way. And he's a good partner. So I think, and it has been really cool to see you guys evolve as individuals and as a couple. Recently, I came across this picture of you two. You were leaving to go to Boston Calling, and it was raining, and I let Tom use my rain jacket, but you and I had matching rain jackets. You guys just looked really silly because you were wearing matching rain jackets. You both look so young in that picture, but also what's really funny is he looks really goofy because his hair is disheveled and not from the rain, just that was his look.
Listen, some things don't change.
No, I think he's got a better handle on his hair now, but it was just really funny. I just looked at that picture and I'm like, oh wow, they're so young.
One of the running jokes that we have between the four of us, me, Lesley, and the husbands, is that Tom gets a mediocre white man trophy for all the mediocre things that he does. And so he got this trophy after changing a diaper, and we're like, oh my God, congratulations, you get this trophy.
He actually has an actual trophy. And then I asked him if he was going to change our son's diaper, and he was like, no, I already got the trophy. I don't need to do anything else.
Well, and it's funny because we were just babysitting for you guys, and he had to clean out the potty. And by had to clean out the potty, I was like, just go empty it into the toilet. It's not that serious. And he was so dramatic about it. He was like, oh my God, that was disgusting. I almost threw up. And I'm just like, all right, you want another trophy, dude?
It's literally the least disgusting thing about babies between diapers and getting out of diapers. It wasn't even poop. It was just urine.
I will say I feel like the husbands have had to learn a lot about our culture and the way that we work and kind of find where they fit in there. Our mom makes kanja, and Tom has also tried to make his take on this soup that is my comfort food, and he named it Tomja. And I'm like, I don't know. This is the sweetbread French toast thing where our mom makes traditional sweetbread. If you haven't listened to the episode on food, we talk all about it on that episode. But he wanted to turn that into French toast. And I was like, dude, you're appropriating our culture. You can't do that. But I bet it would be good.
I know. And it was funny because our husbands get along really, really well. And my husband was like, don't you think that it would be so good though? And I was like, we can't let a white man just appropriate you like that. And he was like, no, I hear you, but I just think it would be really good. And I was like, we cannot let.
It's going to be like opening a can of worms that
I know.
You don't know where it goes.
We don't know where it's going to go. So I will say one nice thing is that they do get along so well, because then we'll have things like we were just at a family event sitting at a round table, and it was our cousin, then Stacy, then Tom, and then me, and then Mark. And I kept talking over Tom, and then finally I was like, this was literally even before dinner gets served. I was like, Tom, we just need to switch places. So neither of us sat next to our husbands at this family event, but they sat next to each other, and we sat next to each other with our cousin, and that was that worked really well for all of us involved.
Yeah, because it was like a family reunion. We were trying to catch up with all of these people they never met before.
Right. They got to talk about basketball or something, and we got to talk about family gossip, basically.
It is funny, though, trying to explain some of the traditions and stuff, not to keep bringing up the food episode, but one of the traditions is having these soups, and we call them sopas, so we literally just call it soups, and Tom was asking me about it, and I'm like, it's sopas, and he's like, yeah, but what kind of sopa? I'm like, no, that is what it is. You don't call it a type of soup, it's just soups. That's the tradition. It's you have soup together, and it's a specific type of soup. He literally looked at me like, are you fucking with me? And then he looks at you and you're like, no, she's being serious.
And Every single Portuguese person knows exactly what kind of sopa we mean when we say sopas. There's been a lot of navigating. There's a lot of translating. We bring this up quite frequently on this podcast, but several years ago we went to the Azores, and it was really just like kind of jump in with both feet for our now husbands with the culture, and I think they did really great. We did have to do a solid amount of translating. We translate everything. And it's just kind of funny because you spend your whole life translating for parents and aunts and uncles, and then suddenly you're like, now I have to translate the other way.
I know. It's so interesting. Like, I loved having them there, and I loved being able to show them, like, this is where we come from. Like, this is our history. This is our story. But going there by myself was so nice to not have to worry about any translations, about anybody feeling left out. Like, it was just so nice to, like, be there and not have to worry about anybody else.
I can imagine. Cannot wait to go back and share more of the culture with him. But yeah, it is a lot of like mental stuff, and you also get into a groove when I'm there. This is true for any time I'm surrounded by Portuguese people. My brain will switch and start basically processing information in Portuguese instead of in English, and then it's just so exhausting to do it the other way when you're like, oh wait, one person here needs me to do it the other way.
We did ask Tom about his perspective of being married to Portuguese people, and how that has affected him. And here's the context. Tom is a white dude from the suburbs. Tom's family history is white. You don't need Ancestry DNA to tell you how white he is. He's just white.
He's just a white guy.
He's a white dude. And so one of the things that, you know, he's had to explore is his own privilege. And I think that kind of marrying into our family, it's really given him like this different perspective on the way you look at the world. It's different than the way that he grew up looking at the world. And he's really had to recognize that as a white American who's been here for generations and generations, he's lost his cultural heritage. He doesn't know really what his culture is. And that's something that we've talked about, of holding on to this culture. And so for him, he talks about the privilege of being able to be part of Portuguese culture and like be part of this identity that is our family and is the larger Portuguese community, because he really, like, as a white dude in the suburbs, like, didn't really have that. I think that's something that white people really, really get stuck on, is like, well, we have culture, we have American culture. And it's like, what is American culture, though, besides capitalism?
Yeah. And it's just so different because it's like we have music, we have dancing, we have food. Food is always a big one. I think food's a big one in every culture.
But it's American culture. It comes from Black food, Mexican food. It comes from everybody else's culture. It doesn't come from the native people of this country.
My husband, Mark, is Black American. So he does have a specific culture. I think a lot of the things that we value that are part of our culture, he was already familiar with, like religion, though neither of us are religious now, but growing up, religion and specific foods and this, it takes a village mentality. He already had that, but different. So him and I getting together just became this sort of like mesh of cultures. And I think he's done a really great job embracing the Portuguese culture. I'm thinking back about our trip, and one thing, I think you and I both tried really hard to prepare them for this, and I don't think there's any way to really prepare them, but it was like, everyone's going to offer you food. You cannot say no. You will have to eat at everyone's house. Pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
And I just remember ends of the nights where they would be sprawled out on the couch of the house that we stayed in, because they were just like, that was a lot of food. And we were like, we told you to pace yourself. But, you know, I think he's done a good job. And also, like, the drinking, everywhere you go, someone's like, have a glass of wine, have a shot of this, have a shot of that. Is that allergies, or are you congested? Because you can have a shot of this. It'll clear you right up. Like, I don't think that I don't even think my husband was fully expecting that level of hospitality.
Yeah.
So, but I really do appreciate that he's like really embraced as much, as much of the culture as he's been exposed to so far. They both did Portugal Day with us last year.
That's true.
They both went to the Portuguese kids shows with us. Also,
and they found
year.
some of the things funny, so they're actually getting the jokes.
I know. I was thinking about that. Like, he also, I wasn't here. I was actually on a client call, and Mom and Dad came by, and then he was like telling me a story, and I realized like the entire interaction happened in Portuguese. And he was like, I just kind of like, he's like, I really understood it. And I was like, well, that's really great that you're like really picking things up. And I will say, I think that most of what he's picking up is from our daughter. But it is really nice that he is genuinely making a huge effort to understand.
I do joke that you can't talk shit in front of Tom because he will know what you're saying.
I think he will too. He's gonna get to join in on like the family gossip soon when we're at parties. Meanwhile, Mark's like, I will learn Portuguese when we live there.
That's a great way to learn. And with the way things are going in this country, who knows? Maybe we will all move to Portugal.
We might have no choice. Another thing my husband has fully embraced has been our Christmas traditions. And he did not grow up Christian, and Christmas has never really been a big deal for him. And then enter me, and I love Christmas so much. And he has fully embraced that. He gets excited about family dinner. He gets excited about shopping for people, thinking about what people might want.
He's great at giving gifts. I would say that's like up there on his top 5 strengths.
Which is funny because he's really difficult to shop for.
Yes, but he gives great gifts. They're always like super, super thoughtful and like things that I really like.
And sometimes he'll make gifts for people, and he'll spend like hours making gifts. And he'll just be like, oh, I just like put this thing together for you. And I'm like, oh, that was like really thoughtful. He actually proposed to me on Christmas Eve, which was the perfect proposal because I love Christmas. I love Christmas Eve. The whole family was together. And it was honestly like, I never was like, this would be the perfect proposal for me. I never even thought that. But after the fact, I was like, wow, there could not have possibly been a better way to propose to me.
You do love Christmas. It was a good time.
It was he did a scavenger hunt style. It was and it was just like fun and very memorable. Good story. And I liked it, so I decided to say yes. And then COVID happened and no one got married.
That's true.
But yeah, overall, I think both of them have done a really good job at embracing our culture and embracing our culture as part of like who we are, which is
nice. All right. So that is us talking about being married to Americans. So if you're listening, I want to know if you're married or dating somebody. Are you dating somebody from your own culture? And how does that show up? Let us know on the Patreon. And if you love the podcast, don't forget to rate and review us. It helps us grow. And we really appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for listening. Until next time. If this episode resonated with you or you have your own first gen stories to share, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on Stacy Braga Copy or Streamline with Lesley on both Threads and Instagram, linked in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with someone who'd love it. Until next time, keep embracing your roots and making your own path.